So at 22, my net worth was negative $8,000. And a decade later, I'm sitting in the 1% threshold. Now, over the past decade, I've been considered poor, I've been considered middle class, and I've been considered wealthy. And I do want to preface this by saying I did have resources that others didn't have growing up. I never worried about food on my table. I had 2 loving parents, and I also had access to education. I know some people don't, and this isn't a shot at anybody that does not have access to those resources. But at the same time, I was not taught any financial literacy. And to this day, my parents probably don't know what a Roth IRA is, to give you perspective. So a lot of this was self-taught. And by the way, I'm actually on a fast right now, a 24-hour fast. So if I say anything goofy, just understand it's probably due to that. This is my first fast ever. Pretty cool experience. My parents were middle class, but I did not inherit business acumen. I wasn't given a ton of money, quote unquote. And I also had debt coming out of college. And as I walk through my mindset when I was poor, when I was middle class, and when I was wealthy, is gonna shock a lot of people. Most people are gonna think it's income, but honestly, it really wasn't. Income is actually a byproduct of how I was thinking. And unfortunately, you're never gonna get this concept through to the middle class, because until you change your mindset, you're gonna stay middle class. And this is something I wanna talk about on a very personal level today, of my mindset shift from poor to middle class to wealthy. And of course, when I say poor, I obviously had the resources to start at a good spot, but I was at a negative $8,000 net worth. So literally, I had a lesser net worth at 22 than I did when I was born. And as a lot of my students know within Budgetdog Academy, we have a financial therapist for a reason. This is the first stage of the game that you need to have to become wealthy. If you can't find your inner demons, and if you can't figure out why you're acting some type of way, you're never gonna actually succeed. And you have to address yourself, and you have to also peel back the onion a little bit to learn more about yourself, so that you can then take the right steps going forward to master your finances. And most of this time I'm talking about, I was usually operating in a class above what my financial said. So maybe my net worth was negative 8,000, but I was thinking like a middle class person. And then when I was in middle class, I was actually thinking like the wealthy at that point in time. And I slowly and steadily became that because I was thinking that way. And that is such an underrated hack. I cannot explain. This is just the real me. And so this is me explaining my real experience throughout this whole financial journey, because it's so much more than a financial journey. And until somebody wraps their mind around that, it is going to be very tough to get ahead. And also, if you don't buy in, it's going to be tough to actually get your finances right. So I'm going to start off by talking about when I was poor. When I was poor, I wouldn't spend anything. And it was due to scarcity mindset. It was due to being afraid to spend anything. And I mean anything. So any amount of money that would leave my pocket, no matter what it was for, would literally be a negative feeling. And that negative feeling held me back from making more income. And let me explain why that was. Because I was so focused on the wrong stuff. Instead of thinking about abundance and thinking about money coming back to me, or providing value for other people to where the money would come back to me, I was always thinking about, I can't lose this dollar, because it meant a lot. And so when you have no money, it is very easy to fall victim to this, because you know every dollar counts. And so to get yourself out of this mindset, it takes a lot of self-work, and it does take some time. But I was playing really, really small, and it had nothing to do with spending and everything to do with my mindset. So the actual dollar that was leaving my pocket had little to do with my overall state of being, which was a poor mindset. I looked at money as a limited resource, because it always was in my life. And therefore, for years, I was training my brain to think, hey, this is a limited resource and you have to work actively for your money. And I was trapped in that mindset because that's the way I grew up. And so many other people grow up in different situations, and they have all sorts of different mindsets. And depending on where you came from or what your background is, you're going to experience something like this. And that's totally normal. But the key is to get past that stage. And once you get past that stage, it's very eye-opening. And so when I say I was playing small, I literally would think of goals in terms of 50 years. We don't live that long. We don't have that long of time on this earth. So to think of a goal, having a long-term mindset and having a scarcity mindset are two different things. Having the idea that good things do take time, there are 30-year goals, there are 40-year goals, there are 50-year goals, that's fine. But to think your whole entire life is dependent on saving $100 a month at 10% for 40 years is asinine. And again, to start, that might be the starting point. But with time, you have to get past that. You have to set the stage and then build upon that. That is exactly what I did. So as I was trying to build that long-term goal, now I had this in place. I had the structure, I had the framework in place. I wanted to shrink that goal, plus do way more than just save for myself, because that is one, so selfish, but two, just kind of meaningless. And the other thing when I was in a poor mindset is I was never pushing for more income. I was always focused on what's leaving my pocket. At work, I'd be okay with a 4% annual increase. That's BS, in fact. And a lot of people go through that their whole entire life and just accept. I remember remember thinking a 13% increase was massive. And while the focus actually is not the money here, what I'm trying to get the point across is that being okay with mediocrity and being okay with little growth is not okay. Now, obviously good things take time, and sustainability does take time, and sustainability of wealth does take time, but we need to be thinking of ways we can produce income, produce value for this world that we know money will come back into our pockets. That is the big jump I had around 23 years old. So at 23 years old is right when we started getting our finances in check, really getting them in check. And so when we started that process, I realized once I got my finances right, I started feeling better. Therefore, I took more opportunities, I took more chances, I took more risk, because I knew if I lost $1, it wasn't the end of the world. But that was my shift from poor mindset to middle class mindset. I was not wealthy at this point by any stretch of the imagination, but I started off to make that first jump. And this is typically what happens. You build a little momentum, you get to the next level. You build a little momentum, you get to the next level. And eventually with time, you start to build all this momentum and confidence to where you can do anything. Because if you can do this, you can do this plus that. And when you can do this plus that, you can do this plus that plus that. And you start to train your mind to think a different way. This took me from poor mindset to middle class to wealthy. Just generally building little wins along the way with a lot of momentum. But a lot of people think of a little goal and they start to compare to their peers and their friends and their family, and they won't realize it doesn't matter what somebody else does. It matters what you do. If you build upon what you've done before, you're going to only improve your life, but not only your life. The cool thing about this is now you can improve your life for other people, because now we can take our situation from a strength position and we can start to build upon and help other people do the same. So once I made the jump mentally to the middle class, my financials took some time to catch up to it, obviously. But now I'm at Deloitte, I'm starting to see people buy a new car, buy a new house, upgrade their suits, and I was making anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 over the 7-year period I was there. So I wasn't crushing it, but I wasn't making horrible money at the same time. But I was still limited in my thinking that somebody else was controlling my outcome of income. And that was crazy, because when I actually think about this now in the state I am at this point, it's crazy to think that I actually put a blocker, I put myself in a box that whatever Deloitte decides to pay me because of the work I put in actively is what I get paid. And I deserve that. And I think a lot of this mindset was growing up in the household I did. We worked hard for our money actively. And I never actually took a second to think, well, if you provide value, you don't necessarily have to be doing all the time to be making money. Money is an unlimited resource, in fact, especially with the government nowadays, but it really truly is. And so when you understand this fact and you understand I can go produce value in any sort of capacity to earn dollars, that will take you to another level. So now we think of how to help other people, how to provide more value for other people to be in the position to make more money, which then allows you to give more money. It's an endless cycle of abundance and an endless cycle of forever. And it's really cool to be at a stage where I'm at, where we just donated $25,000 to Dravet syndrome. This is something I would never have thought, let's call it 7 years ago, that I would be able to do. I would be able to donate 25,000. Our goal was actually $1 million, in fact. This was just one donation, and we are working our way to $1 million to give away $1 million. But this mindset has changed throughout my time. At one point, I would never have imagined I would be able to do that. But because I've changed the way I think about things, I've actually been able to progress through socioeconomic classes because I'm starting to think differently. And now when I receive more, I can therefore give more. So when I was in the middle class, quote unquote, I started Budgetdog. And my goal was just to provide free educational content. I had no idea there was a business behind it. I had no idea that people even did this. In fact, my wife forced me to start. She said, you should post all your stuff you talk about all the time. I'm like, nobody would care about that. And so I never actually thought this was a real thing. I didn't think it was a business, and I was just pushing out free content, helping people for free. So when it became a business idea to me, I was like, wow, this is actually incredible. The potential it has to not only help other people, but also to take the income from the business and then be able to generate for bigger causes was very attractive. And so when we built our own wealth, there's only so much stuff I can give myself to fulfill. And once I get past that stage, now it's everything else for other people. And so starting my biz was in the middle class, but it took me to the wealthy level. And we went through our fair share of financial troubles. So the whole goal was just to help other people. And what that turned into was an abundant mindset that has shifted from poor to middle class to wealthy, and really shift the way I think about the world in total. And I see so many people with potential to give, but they're so locked into a poor mindset of a scarcity hey, I got to keep and save more money and save more money and save more money forever, that I can't actually give back. This is a big reason I get our finances in check, but I didn't even really consciously know that at that point in time. But as I become more consciously aware, I'm starting to talk about this side of the things way more often. So now I'm networking with people that do 10x of what I've done, 15x, 20x, etc. because I'm putting myself in that mindset. What do they do? How do they think about the world differently than what I do now? So a lot of people will come on my IG lives and ask, what stock should I pick or what should I do? Ultimately, they want the outcome of financial freedom, but they're asking the wrong questions. They're trying to get the quick answer, when in fact, you need to study how the math equation is built. What are we thinking about to get to that solution? So if I'm not here answering exactly that question and giving you the exact solution, how are you going to get through the math problem? You're not going to, and you're going to go revert back to where you were, which is a big reason I think education is everything. The more you educate, the more you think like wealthy people, the better results you're going to have, and also the more sustainable results, the more longer lasting impact of it. And back to when I was poor and I said every dollar that left my pocket, I felt as if I was losing it. It doesn't matter if it was an investment in my 401k in the stock market, it doesn't matter if it was education, if it was mentorship. One of the big shifts I made in my business was investing in specialization and also paid mentorship. People that have done exactly what I've already done and they're better at it and they can speed my process up. In this current day, the way I look at things is you can pay with time or money. It's your decision. So I could spend all day long YouTubing and networking and trying to connect with people offline and pay $0. How long would that take me? And how is the time value of money going to play into that equation of the ultimate outcome? So if I don't spend the money now and learn quicker, unless I have it all up here right this second, which I do not, then I'm going to have to spend time. Then the power of the dollar actually goes down. So if I actually take the dollar, I use it to my advantage to find specialists, to find mentors in what I'm trying to accomplish, I speed that process up, I make more money as a result, and then I have more time on my side to grow my wealth. That is the ultimate way to build wealth. But that took me a long time to fully, really, truly grasp. It did not happen overnight. It happened with trial and error and multiple times. It started off with $100, then it moved to $1,000, then it moved to $5,000, $10,000. And to current day, I'm paying somebody $25,000 a month to help me with my business. And this is something I would never have thought that would be even a reasonable thing to do. That is $300,000 a year. But what they've been able to do is 10x my business as a result. So if I know that they're able to 10x my business and I'm paying a small fee to do that, it makes all the sense in the world. Not to mention I'm building connections, I'm building networks, I'm building relationships, and I'm also building skills that now are sellable in the future. Somebody that comes to me and says, hey, I want to do exactly what you did. Well, I can help people from behind me and the people in front of me can help me. And it's just an ever-ending cycle of helping. And when you start to understand that concept, it doesn't take a long time to get wealthy. But most people are so worried about themselves of how much can I make, how much money can I generate to help myself, to therefore not help anybody else. And they get stuck in that cycle and they always are actually in a poor mindset. And the biggest goal right now is to give $1 million to Gervais. So when we donate 1 million to Gervais syndrome, that's just going to be one of many goals we have. It's on my whiteboard behind me, but that's an expectation at this point. That's something that was not an expectation 5, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. There's no way in my little brain that I would be able to think that I would be able to do that, give that, generate that, provide the value to be able to do that. But at this point in time, it's actually small potatoes because I've actually believed that I'm able to do that because I've done other smaller ventures along the way to build that momentum, to build that confidence and take me to that next level. And I'm trying to teach everybody that here at Budgetdog, whether you're within my academy, whether you're following my free content, there are ways to generate so much income when you start to think differently. But it does take time, and this won't be the last video you watch with this topic. So with time, I just share what I'm doing. If you haven't caught on yet, that's all I really do. I just share what I'm doing in my personal life, how it's helped me, how it can help you. One of the books I'm currently reading is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. This is an empowering book. This can recreate yourself. And when you start to think this way, you're going to be opening your mind to something new, to more frequencies. And I don't want to sound like a freak over here by any means, but it's just the truth. With time, this stuff really does work. It just takes intentionality, discipline, and focus. No matter what position you're in, whatever resource you have, wherever you came from, it is harder for other people to get from point A to point B. That is a fact. Some people have better resources than others. That's always going to be the case though. And so if you allow that to hold you back of, well, this person has more than me or this person has more than me, there's always somebody that has more than you. That's just a reality. Somebody has more than me right now, probably doing less. And then vice versa. In fact, somebody probably has less than me doing more than me. And so when we understand that concept, we're going to kick our butt into gears to make sure that we go to that next level and we exhaust our potential. But until you get to that mindset, it's really hard to make progress. So anyways, guys, hope this is a little different of a YouTube video today. I wanted to talk on the actual mindset behind money because that's going to be a big theme in my upcoming podcast in 2024 when we have financial therapists and real money stories from real people. Things that took them from poor to middle class to wealthy. The way they think about things. Not the X's and O's. I'm an expert at that. I can tell you the exact blueprint of what to do to get wealthy from a technical perspective, from a financial perspective. But if I cannot get the mindset correct, there's no way you're going to be able to apply the technical steps it requires to get wealthy as well. We have to get the mindset right to take ourselves to the next level. And that is what the podcast is going to be focused on. So get ready for that. Going to interview real life people in real situations, not the rich and famous, but we're going to talk to the everyday person that is mastering their money and learning and share their journey with you each and every week. So anyways, guys, much love, and I will see you guys next Monday and the next episode.